So today we are making small batch English style cream scones. They are perfect for breakfast, for brunch, as an afternoon treat, or of course, with some tea. Now this recipe makes 2 medium-sized scones or 4 small scones, so just the perfect amount. Now I've got a few tips to share with you in order to get a flaky and light scone every time. And I'm also going to show you how to dress up this basic scone recipe 4 different ways. So make sure you stay around till the end. Join me in the kitchen as we make small batch recipes with big taste. Hi, it's Leanne. And today's recipe for small batch English style cream scones have the perfect texture and they only take minutes to put together. You can personalize them with your favorite add-in too. So we're going to start by combining our dry ingredients, and this is where the first tip comes in. Now, measuring your flour. You want to make sure you measure your flour accurately, because if you don't, you're going to have a hard time getting your scone dough to come together. And so I'm going to show you how I like to measure flour. First of all, I just take my cup and I just kind of, let me see there, fluff my flour up a bit just to kind of get it lighter. And then I'm going to scoop out my flour, take a knife, take the back of a knife and just scrape off the excess off top. Now we need a cup and a half, and I'm just using all-purpose, I like unbleached flour. So a cup and a half of flour. All right, then we're going to add in our sugar. Now today I'm using granulated sugar. You could also use brown sugar if you prefer. It gives it a little maybe more depth of flavor. So we've got a 1/4 cup of sugar, and then our baking powder. Make sure you're using fresh baking powder, not baking powder that's been sitting in your pantry for like a couple of years, because this is what's going to help give our scone that lift and help it be nice and fluffy. So make sure it's good baking powder. And we need, I gotta check my amounts, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. All right, after we got all that in, we're just gonna take a fork. We're also gonna add in just, I think, about a pinch, or is it 1/4 teaspoon? 1/2 teaspoon, okay. And then we're gonna add in 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then just take our fork and fluff it around, get all those dry ingredients incorporated. Now for your second tip, we're going to add in our butter, and we are using a 1/4 cup of cold butter, and that's the tip. You want your butter to be cold, not room temperature. And I've just kind of chopped it up into little bits. It'll help to incorporate it a little bit faster. And then you can make either a pastry blender, or you can totally just use your fingers too. And you want to just incorporate that butter into there and break it down till it kind of forms just the size of small pebbles. Now this should only take about a minute. It's not a long process. You want to do it quickly and fast, especially if you're using your fingers, so that heat from your fingers doesn't start to melt the butter. One of the reasons why it's important to use cold butter is that cold butter is going to help the scone to hold its shape and prevent it from spreading too much as it cooks. Okay, there we go. Just nice small pebbles size pieces of butter. If you see a few that are too big, just take your fingers and break them up a little bit. Now it's at this point in the process, if you're going to be adding any add-ins in, is where you want to add them. Now a traditional English scone has raisins in it. I am not a fan of raisins, so instead today we are going to use chocolate chips. And in fact, chocolate chips and toffee bits are one of my favorite flavor combinations. I use it in cookies all the time, so I figured, why not? If it's good in a cookie, it's going to be good in a scone too. So you want about 1/2 cup in this size of batch. You want about 1/2 cup of add-ins. So I've used a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips and a 1/4 cup of toffee bits. If you just want chocolate chips, use 1/2 cup. If you like raisins, add in 1/2 cup of raisins. And at the end here, I'm going to share with you some other add-ins that you can add into your scones for different flavor combinations that are super yummy. All right. We got that. Now we're going to take our wet ingredients. Now for our wet ingredients, we are going to use a whipping cream, and you want to use heavy whipping cream. This is a cream scone, and so that cream is an important part of the ingredients. We have 1/2 cup of cream, and I'm going to use 1 egg yolk. Get all that in there. And then 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. You could also use, if you prefer almond, add in some almond extract, and just mix that up. And then we are ready to add that into our dry ingredients. Now with these small batch recipes, you've heard me say this before, it's important you get all your ingredients out. All right, now we're just gonna mix this together. And you want to combine it just until it's still going to look a little maybe shaggy and dry. That is okay. We'll get the majority of the flour, though, incorporated. All right, so we have it right to about where all the flour is incorporated. We're going to just dump it out onto our surface. Now, it's still going to look a little dry. That's okay. You're just going to take your hands and you're just going to bring it together and kind of knead it just a little bit. You don't want to overwork this dough. And that's why we do it by hand and not in the mixer too. Because overworking this dough is kind of like biscuit dough. It's going to make for a tough scone if you do that too much. So we just want to get all those chocolate chips in there and bring the dough together. The warmth of your hands will help to bring it together. All right, and then we're just going to take it and shape it into a round disc, about maybe like an inch thick. Right now we are ready to cut our scone, and it's at this point you decide if you want 2 or 4 scones. I'm going to make 4, and I'm just taking a bench scraper. You can use a knife, whatever you got. Try to cut it in half as evenly as possible, and then we're going to cut it into quarters. All right, now I'm going to take a parchment-lined baking sheet, and I'm going to place each of my scones on the baking sheet, and you want to leave some space in between. I'm leaving, I don't know. Oh, push that one here. We're going to put that piece back there. I'm leaving mine about, I don't know, half an inch, a little bit more apart. Now, if you want to get a little extra fancy here, you can take a little bit of that cream you have left over and go ahead and just brush the outside of the scone with it. It's just going to make it a little prettier. Totally optional. If you don't want to do that, sometimes I'll also use melted butter, but I've got this cream here left over, so we're going to brush it on, and then we're going to take just some raw or coarse sugar and sprinkle it on the top. Again, I said this is just purely kind of for aesthetics. They're plenty sweet without the sugar on top. And then they are ready to go into the oven, and they're going to go in at 350 degrees for about 18 to 20 minutes. So you just want to get a nice golden brown bottom on the scone. And then I'm going to show you some of the different flavor combinations I love to put together. Okay, so let's talk flavor combinations. So, of course, the chocolate chip toffee is one of my favorites. Can't go wrong with that one. But the possibilities are pretty much endless. You can just pick your favorite flavors. So one of my favorite is a blueberry lemon, and I will add in a half of a cup of fresh or frozen blueberries. I do thaw the blueberries first, and then a little lemon zest, about a tablespoon of lemon juice. So good. Now, don't worry, because all the directions and measurements for the additional flavor combos will be in the description down below. Another one is a maple pecan scone, which is kind of really perfect for fall. I'll use brown sugar in that one and add in about a 1/4 cup or to a 1/2 cup, just depending on what I want, of some chopped pecans. And then I make a drizzle with either with maple flavoring or maple syrup, a little butter, powdered sugar, and drizzle it over the top. So good. All right, one of my other favorites, I think they're all my favorite, but orange, it's more like an orange creamsicle scone, and in it I will use white chocolate chips and then orange juice and orange zest, and really delicious, tastes just like a creamsicle. And then another lemon one I love is a lemon poppy seeds, one of my favorite combos. And again, in that one we'll use lemon juice, a lemon zest, and some poppy seeds. So pretty much, do whatever. Oh, one more, this is a bonus one. Dried apricots, and then use almond extract. This almond apricot flavor combo is so good. So I love you to try one of those or come up with your own flavor combination. If you come up with a good one, leave me a comment down below, because I'd love to know what it is. All right, our scones are done. They smell heavenly. I love to eat a scone when it is nice and warm. You can put a little butter on it, a little jam. If you're fancy like that, you could add a little Devonshire cream. I'll link to a recipe I have on my blog for it. But I want you to look at that. Can you see those nice flaky layers right there? Yeah, that is what you want in a scone. And all those tips I shared with you are going to help you get it. Now, if you like some other scone recipes, I do have a pumpkin scone recipe here on the blog you can check down there. And make sure you check out all my other small batch dessert and other recipes. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.